And a very good evening to you, and welcome to this evening's edition of Politics 101. Coming to you this evening from Buxton in Guyana. And this evening, we'll be chatting about the issues in the news and some of the political developments in the last 24 hours. We're going to be touching on those. So please share the link. Politics 101 is live, and we are welcoming you, whether you're in Guyana, as I am, on the east coast of Demerara, Georgetown, Demerara, wherever you are in the Demerara County, wherever you are in Bobis, in Quarantine, in the Essequibo, Northwest, wherever you are in the hinterland. Good night, and welcome to Politics 101. Whether you're outside of Guyana in the Magic Caribbean, or you're in North America, or Europe, or you're in South America. I'm talking here about whether you're in French Guyana, Suriname, whether you're in Brazil or Venezuela. Welcome down to Politics 101, where, as usual, we start off the evening doing our thing. And of course, when you leave here, you go over to Brother Sherrod Duncan, and then we close off the evening with Mark Benchop. So buckle up, because we are in the zone where we engage in discussion, education, and mobilization. We're going to open the phone a little bit early because we are going to close off at 7:30 tonight. I have to rush to do another television program on Channel 9. So we're going to open the phones in half an hour's time so that you can get a chance to come in. I know we haven't opened the phone in a bit. I'll ask the operator to put up the number quite early so that we can get some of your views in. Welcome down to Politics 101. I understand that teachers who have not been vaccinated, that they have withheld their salaries. That's one development over the last 24 hours. I suppose they will have to get with the unions and work that out. Welcome on down. I see GT Root Girl. Maybe I'm as one of my friends in Boston would say, Dr. Hinds, you eat okra today because your mouth slipping. Is GT Root Gal, not Root Girl. GT Root Gal. Welcome on down to Politics 101. Denise Booker is, of course, taking up her seat very early. Audrey Brown, welcome down to Politics 101. We're coming down to Christmas. It is a season of good tidings, the season of blessings and love. Yes, Donna, I know you're always with us from French Guyana. When I was a little boy in the village, people going to French Guyana, they say, you got Cayenne, and as you got older and you're learning geography, you realize that Cayenne is the capital of French Guyana. Welcome down. Hosea Morgan, welcome, my brother, and I want to thank you very much for your support. Thank you so much for your support. I see Egerton Vibert White, always here from Grove, the man from Grove on the east bank of Demerara. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Danny John, Sharon Griffith. Welcome down to Politics 101. I was saying, look, we're into the Christmas season. And of course, we are good Christians. But more than that, Christmas is more than just a celebration for Christians. It's people of all faith who celebrate Christmas. It has become more of a cultural intervention than a religious thing. Good evening to you. Good evening to Audrey. Jomo from the UK. Jomo from the UK. Lucy Wilberg, who is um, a regular. Yonette, Cheryl Wharton. Welcome everybody. Welcome down everybody to Politics 101. It's getting close to Christmas and everybody's, warming up to the season, and it's a time for, a break from the general routine, and time to get together with family. And some of you will be traveling home to Guyana, as I am, and spending time with relatives and friends. Some of you will be traveling to other parts of the country that you are to get together with relatives and friends. It's a time and a season of reflection. And then we get into the new year. 2021 has been quite a year, quite a political year. We have seen the true colors of the government. Some of them who helped to install the government are now recognizing the mistake that they've made in putting the government in power, because what we have seen is 1 year of unevenness in terms of the distribution of common resources, 1 year of oppression. I think we're not out of place to use that term. 1 year of oppression, 1 year of bad governance, 1 year of authoritarian rule. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I'll try to keep as safe as I can. Yonette also, keep safe, Dr. Hinds. I'll try as much as I can. As I indicated a couple of weeks ago, nobody will run me from where we come from, and they're not going to keep me from coming here. I spend about 4 or 5 months per year in Guyana. Sometimes they describe me as an overseas-based Guyanese. I spend my time here, and I've been doing that for 20 odd years. 20 odd years I've been doing that here. Because Guyana is where I belong. Guyana is where I belong. Guyana is my country. And people speculate on a whole bunch of things. I've only held one passport in my entire life, and that's a Guyanese passport. My point is this: we live in a global world, and if Guyanese choose to live in other parts of the world where they can make a living for themselves and raise their family, they're entitled to do so. But that does not make them non-Guyanese. And we live in a world of technology that you can live in New York, you can live in Europe, wherever you are, and keep up with what's happening in Guyana, sometimes more than people who live here physically. And this thing about separating us, those who live outside from those who live inside, is a way of dividing us. I've always said to Guyanese, if it's to your advantage to become a citizen of the United States or England, as the case may be, then do it. I'm a political person, and I took that decision 30 odd years ago when I first came to this country, that I was not going to change my citizenship because I know I am politically involved. And it didn't take a constitution to tell me that I can't have two citizenships. And so I've always held on to my Guyanese citizenship, but I've encouraged people, friends, fellow countrymen and women that if you live in America, wherever, and it's to your advantage to become a citizen, to enjoy the benefits of your labor, because that's where you labor. That's where you pay your taxes. That's where you're raising your children. Let nobody make you feel guilty because you decide that you are going to live somewhere else, but you are Guyanese. Citizenship is not determined by your physical location. There is a larger citizenship, and that is the citizenship of belonging. You belong to Guyana, and so let nobody make you feel that you do not belong to Guyana. So thank you all. I thank all those of you who live in the diaspora. I thank you all for staying with those in Guyana who are not fortunate or who've chosen not to leave. But the says the late Sir Johnson, aka Finance, had always cited the Kiskadee never had to show a passport to move across the globe. That's a good one. The Kiskadee don't have to show across a passport to move across the globe. Yeah, oh gosh, that one tickled me. The wisdom, eh? The wisdom that come from old timers. They didn't have cell phone. They didn't have. Sometimes some of them didn't have. Most of them didn't have the benefit of university education. But my God, the wisdom that they had, and in a sense, they've passed that on to us. And we who call ourselves scholars, what we do is that we take that wisdom, we call it research, and we refine it and we write books on it. It's the people's wisdom that we are taking. And Brother Yussi Kwayana said we need to take that wisdom, refine it, and then give it back to the people as political nourishment and cultural nourishment. So let nobody divide us. Let nobody divide us between those who are inside and those who are outside. And those of us who are outside have a responsibility to our country too. At the end of the day, our navel string bury. And I said navel string because when we read the books later on, we found out that navel, but we know about navel string bury. The old days, they would bury the navel string under the tree in the yard if you're born home, and so your navel string bury it. Desiree, watching live, Desiree Chapman. We have a famous poet, Chapman from England, and I read somewhere this week she got an award. Grace Chapman, an extremely powerful poet and artistic figure in England. There's if it's your cousin, big up. And Desiree Chapman, I read somewhere, and you read so many things during the week, and I can't remember exactly what's the award that she got. But Grace Chapman is one of the Guyanese artists that really has done well in England, in the United Kingdom. From Los Angeles, California. Good evening to everyone in Guyana and New York. Berthill Nelson, LA. I lived in California for 3 years. I taught at one of the universities there, Claremont Graduate University up there. Berthill in Pomona area, Claremont area. I taught for 3 years there before I moved to Arizona. And I have to tell you, I mean, there was 3 years of the most rollicking time in my life. I mean, California is a world by itself. New York, we always say, is a country and a world by itself, and California is too. I mean, I tell you, those 3 years in California. When I moved to Arizona, every weekend I would drive back to LA to hang out. I stopped doing it because the problem, I think it was 6 hours to drive up there, 5 or 6 hours from Phoenix. The problem wasn't the driving to go because you're anxious to get there. It's Sunday night, but it's to come back. And after about a year or so, I gave it up. But I have very fond memories of Los Angeles and the surrounding area. And I have lots of friends who are still out there, living up there in Rancho. Lots of Guyanese up there in Rancho Cucamonga. Up there, my very good friends from Buxton, June Griffith, the former well-known Guyanese athlete, and her husband, Mr. Collison, Dennis Collison, and Deborah's, June's sister Deborah, and so on. Lots of good friends up there in California, live in the Rancho area. And so it's good to see LA in the house. Yes. Look, we have some brothers and sisters who join us, and they are Indian Guyanese. I notice Anil Sugrim is on. We know that some of them come on, they're troublemakers. But I found out that there are a lot of Indian Guyanese who are not troublemakers, but who come on to our show and who are part of the Politics 101 family. And sometimes we don't know because they're anonymous. They don't announce themselves. The ones who come on and make trouble and try to cause problems are the ones who are most vocal. But I want to say good night to all our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters who are on the program, and to welcome you, because this is not a zone of anti-Indianism. Never. It is not a zone of anti-Indianism. Yes, we defend African Guyanese when they're under attack, but if Indian Guyanese are under attack, we'll do the same. That is our responsibility as Guyanese. And they try to make us out as anti-Indian and all that nonsense. It is not. As we do on this program, we preach love. Love yourself. Love yourself. I don't want our Indian brothers and sisters to play black. Be Indian. And the more genuinely Indian you are, the more you force us to respect you because you respect your origin. And what we share as ethnic groups is that we share a physical space called Guyana. We share a civic space called Guyana. And we try to link our cultures together to become one powerful nationality. We are a work in progress. There are those who would like to disrupt that work of Guyanese nationalism, but we have to keep working at it. We have to keep working at it. The topic, of course, tonight is to resist tyranny. To resist tyranny. Throughout the history of mankind, there've always been those who would like to dominate others, whether they want to dominate us by class, by ethnicity, by race, by gender. They're all those who always want to dominate. And our problem with the PPP government is their desire to dominate racially and ethnically. And we want our East Indian brothers and sisters who support the PPP to say to them, look, you can support the PPP, but you don't have to support the PPP's domination of others. We live together in Guyana. We have to work together in Guyana. At the end of the day, we have to find the Guyana, a place where we can live together in peace. If one ethnicity has all the money and the other ethnicities don't have any money, we are not going to have a stable Guyana. What are you saying to those who are going to go into their paycheck and discover they get a miserly $4,900? And this morning they open the paper, the newspapers, and they see Their brothers and sisters very happy receiving $250,000. Talk to me. What kind of society are we building if that's what we're saying? You open the papers this morning and you see your brothers and sisters getting $250,000, and you go to the bank and open your account and see you get an extra $4,900. But less than that, because after they tax it, it's much less than that. We cannot build a peaceful society under those circumstances. What do you expect me to do? Karen Black, good night. Good night, Karen. Thanks for coming down. Grace Nichols. I was saying Grace Chapman. Grace Nichols. Thank you, Joan. And I recognize that name, Joan McDonald. Grace Nichols, very good. Lynette Zephyr, my countrywoman, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. She and her twin sister, Rocky Laverne, live wire of our village. Welcome down. Grace Chapman is a Londoner, but yeah, and Grace Chapman is also an artist. I'm confusing the two. Grace Chapman also is an artist from Linden. Marielle, hi Marielle, how are you doing? I'm seeing a long time. And Grace Nichols is also an artist. All right, and you get old, you get these things mixed up. Yes, Grace Chapman from Linden, and Grace Nichols also. You see, when you have an audience that is on top of things, in my line of work, we call it your researchers. You get your researchers, and they do the thing for you. You see, when professors write books and so on, people think we do it all on our own. No, we have sometimes students who help us to do the research and to get the thing right. Grace Nichols and Grace Chapman, our Politics 101 researchers setting it. Well, there's Remanuel. Welcome, Beverly. What do you expect me? What do you expect me to say to African Guyanese who say, well, Dr. Hinds, is that fair? You expect me to just say, well, it's not fair and leave it at that? No. You expect me to articulate the advantage taken and to try to give solace to those people on whom the advantage is being taken. That is our role as public people, as public scholars, public activists, is to articulate in a public way what others are not able to articulate because they don't have a microphone in front of them to speak to the critical mass. So today cannot be a good day in Guyana, where teachers are opening their bank account and to find that their salaries have been blocked because they have not done their vaccination. And I'm saying that I'm a pro-vaccine person. I'm a pro-vaccine person, and I would love if everybody were to vaccine, but I am not going to get into the business of forcing people to do things against their will. But teachers, some teachers who are not vaccinated, they're therefore going to open and find they have no money. But here are our brothers and sisters getting $250,000, and nobody's asking them if they're vaccinated. Nobody's asking them anything they know, ignorances. And you see, it is the kind of inequality in the society that we have to deal with. Inequality we have to deal with. Standards have to be across the board. That person who's getting $250,000 can invest that in a small business That's reasonable amount of money to invest in a small business. And that in 2 years and 3 years, that small business will become a medium-sized business. Why not give, even if you don't want to give 250, why not give $200,000 to public servant or $100,000, $150,000 to public servant, and say this is not a salary increase. This is a cash grant to you. Public servants have not been knocked off. Public servants are employed, but they're underemployed because their salaries and wages are not a living salary and a living wage. So they're employed, but they're getting underemployed money. I know the economists will say that we have to be very careful when we put a lot of money into the economic system. It can cause inflation and so on. I understand that. But you have to sit down in a holistic way and say we want to give some cash grants. And we live in a society that is divided. We have these sugar workers who are knocked off. And we promise to give them something on our manifesto. We promise to give open back the estate. We find that the estate cannot be opened. In fact, we knew that the estates could not have been opened. So in order to keep them quiet, we want to give them a small piece. But God, if we give them a small piece, those people over there, the Amerindians and the black people, they're going to ask us where we small piece there. So here's what we're going to do, brother. We're going to put aside a set of money for cash grants, and then we're going to make sure we share it across the board so that everybody gets a satisfactory amount. That's what a decent government, a caring government, a government of all the people would do. Today is not a good day for Guyana. It is not a good day for Guyana. There are going to be some African Guyanese who will get $250,000 because they were sugar workers. But the majority of those workers are of one ethnic group. There are going to be some African Guyanese some Indian Guyanese public servants who are going to get the $4,000 tax. I wonder if they tax the $250,000. I doubt that. I doubt that. But they're going to tax the $4,900. And some of our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters who are public servants are going to get that. So we know that there are people of all ethnicity who are going to be affected one way or the other. But we're talking about the critical mass, the majority. The majority. If you go to a place like the village that I'm in right now, Buxton, more families are depending on public servant workers, public service workers' salary than are depending on people who get $250,000. I think if you look around Buxton, if you got 10 people who get that $250,000, plenty. But a lot more people will get the $4,000. And if you go to, let's say, Enmore, the number of people who get in the 2,000, 250,000 will be quite a lot compared with Buxton. And the people who are getting the little public service pittance would be a few compared with Buxton. So when we take those two communities, what we have is an infusion of much more money in one community than in the other community. So if you think about development and underdevelopment in community terms, by the actions of the government, you're in fact underdeveloping one community while developing potentially the other community. Now, we didn't ask for Guyana to be partitioned along ethnic lines in terms of where we live. That's what we have. And any government has to take that into consideration. So tonight and tomorrow and for Christmas, there is more money circulating in Enmore or Enterprise than there is in Buxton and Golden Grove by the action of the government. And it cannot be right. Any Indian Guyanese brother and sister then tell me that that is right, something is wrong with them. But that is what we are facing this Christmas. In blunt terms, that is what we are facing. That times it's not tax. I have the privilege of seeing a check. Vibert is saying it's not tax. The $250 is not tax. Good night, Jamal. Watching from Bobby's. Good night. Thanks, brother. Jamal Aziz. So Vibert is saying the $250,000 is not tax. The $4,900 is not tax. It's tax. I'm saying this is not about preaching race. If I were Indian Guyanese, I would say to myself that if my brethren and sisterin over there can earn as much as we are earning, can make as much money as we are making, then we are more likely to see eye to eye. You go in Georgetown and you see rich Indians and rich black people and rich Chinese people and rich Portuguese people hanging out together as brothers, mostly, sometimes sisters. And the reason they're hanging out together because they're all rich. They may not like each other race, but as individuals, they're getting together because they're all rich. The theory then is that if you were to up the income and the economic profile of all the races to one of equitableness and equalness, equality, it will not end racism. It will not end the prejudice, but it will decrease the chances of ethnic hostility. There's a reason why rich people get along well. There's a reason. There's a reason. Because they own money. Their wealth is about the same. Good night, Carol from the UK. Good night. And that's all we are saying. You could have said before now that you didn't have money. Now the money is coming and you are taking it and dividing it unequally. I understand the flood relief money that they haven't given us a bill yet. I understand the people who assessing. Brother Kinaki was dealing with that this morning, the assessors end up getting more money than the people who the relief money should go to. And the assessors are all PPP and PYO people. That is Prasad, good night. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. Stay focused, stay focused. We're in a bad situation. Yes, Gladys, you're right. They are pitting us against each other. By giving one group more and giving one group so much less, you are creating the conditions for hostility. You, Tajmul, I want you to learn tonight. You're in school. You can't teach the teacher. You're in school. And when you're in school, Mr. Tajmul, you pay attention to the teacher. You don't come and spit nonsense. All right? You're accepted in the walls of school. And be quiet. Be quiet. You are one of those people who they send to make trouble here. And we're not tolerating that. Right? So we are saying that our objective as we move into the new year is to ensure that we bring about some equality in this country, some equitable distribution in this country. That's all we're asking for. And there comes a time when we have to stop asking and we have to demand. We have to demand. Governments, all governments tend to be hardies. Good night, my brother Jaiwan Bunduri. Good night. I've noticed that you are a regular on the program. We've got to do better in our country. We've got to do better in our country. Katmula work for what get, you know. I work for what get. I get a doctor, I didn't buy it at some university on the West Coast or in Buxton. I mean, we got university in Buxton, you know. Mr. Tajmul, I ain't get it from University of Haifa. I went to Howard University. University of Haifa. Tajmul, you live in glass house that throws stone. Live in glass house. No, we have always taught Guyana. You know, we've always taught Guyana. And we are proud to have made a contribution to the teaching profession. All ethnic groups make their contributions. And African Guyanese have made a contribution to education, and we are proud of that. Our brothers and sisters of other ethnic groups, they've made a contribution in areas of commerce and business, and we are thankful for that. We also want to get into that area. You know, Indian Guyanese have become teachers and they've gotten into the other professions that African Guyanese were force. And African Guyanese would like to get into the business sector. And the government is holding them back. Give public servants $250,000 cash grant so they can start some small business. I dare you. I dare the government to do that. I dare the government to do that. Give public servants $250,000. Give 7,000 of them, as you said, it's 7,000 sugar workers. Must be equitable. Give 7,000 public servants $250,000 cash grant. We're daring the government to do that. They're daring the government to do that. And now they're ready to go to raid, ready to go and raid the National Resource Fund. You all notice the year ain't end yet, and the government spend more money than it budgeted for. The government spend more money than it budgeted for. Where that money went to? You budget for a certain amount of money. The National Assembly give you that money, and you spend more than you budget for. So you now want to remove the 22 people, the guardrails of democracy, so you can go now and raid the National Resource Fund. That's the plan. And the thing is, they're doing it bold-faced. They're not even hiding to do it. All right, we're going to open the lines. We're going to take a few calls because I have to get away a little bit early tonight. We're going to take a few calls and then we'll close off at 7:30. I have to run across to do another program somewhere else. So call us at 604-9722 and let's get some calls in. Let's get some calls in. You know, there's nothing that beats equitable distribution of resources. There's nothing that beats that. It increases the possibility of human brotherhood. It decreases the possibility of conflict. And government responsibilities to promote equality, to promote justice. To promote justice. You see, they would prefer that we go in the bar and drink. They would like that. Rather than to come here in the evening as we do, or in the mornings as Kidaki does, and to try to learn from our people and teach our people. They would prefer us to do other things, and then they will come to our community and say, you all don't have role models. So it bothers them that we have decided to give some of our time to help to keep our people informed and to keep our people mobilized.
We got a call, Dr. Hinds.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, good evening to you, Dr. Hinds.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
My question to you is, I want to know what is the possibility in this government getting their hands on the natural resource fund? Is it possible, right? Because of the ramification, because of the contract, right? That Mr. Jordan signed, is it possible that they would get their hands on this resource fund? That's my question to you. Thank you very much.
And it's a straightforward question. You're right. Yes, it is difficult for them to get it because there are many layers they have to remove to get there, but it is possible. Because I think most of the changes that will have to be made can be made with a simple majority in Parliament. And they have that majority in Parliament. So, for example, the removal of this 22-member committee, they can remove that with a simple majority in Parliament. And I was saying the other night that one of the lessons that we have learned here is perhaps we should have made it more difficult by ensuring that a supermajority is needed to remove some of the lock and key on the money. But yes, it is possible for them to get their hands on it once they remain in office. And that is why the objective has to be for this government to remove from office. Let them hear the petition. Why is the petition being delayed? Let them hear the petition. There is evidence coming out of the recount that an election petition, let them hear it. Let the court rule that despite the lateness of filing certain things in the petition, that the petition should go forward. Let us have a petition. Let us hear the petition. And let us decide whether the elections were indeed free and fair and free from fear. Because the quicker we get the PPP out of office, they say we want to overthrow them. No, we don't want to overthrow you. We want you to overthrow yourself. We're not talking about overthrowing the government by some guerrilla something. Certainly not on this program. We are saying let the course of the law be allowed to run. Hear the petition now. Overturn the Chief Justice ruling that threw out one of the petitions. Overturn it and let's hear the petition. Call us at 592-604-9722. 5 years is going to be too much. 5 years of this is too much. They can be removed from government. We can find a Tyranny among them. Some of their own people who know that they're doing wrong should turn against them. They try to tell the world that we are preaching violence and we are this and we are that and all of anything. We are the victims of violence. We don't preach violence, we are the victims of violence. I come from a people who have had to endure violence from the Middle Passage and before, right now, right through to now. Right through to now.
We have a call, Dr. Hinds.
Caller, you're on live on Politics 101.
Good evening, Dr. Hinds, and good evening to the operator. Dr. Hinds, why is it that the Indo-Guyanese have, in your opinion, set on domination? I mean, what I think is happening is that they want a generational, which have been happening, a generational wealth to actually occur. So the question I've always asked is, what is our redress in order, to close that wealth gap? Because as they have depressed the Afro-Guyanese, and while they have increased their wealth, there's no way we're going to catch up to their wealth. So in the event that we are in a position, how then do we now, try to make up for all that have been lost? And that's my question.
Yes, and that's a very important question. Everywhere in the world where groups have been behind economically, the only way that they've been able to catch up is for state intervention. That is, the state has to intervene to level the field. Because all groups have had affirmative action. The groups who are doing well, Indian Guyanese had affirmative action. Portuguese had affirmative action. The colonial government gave them affirmative action. That is why they are doing well in the economic sector. African Guyanese and Amerindians are the only ethnic groups in the country that have not been given affirmative action. And up to this day, Portuguese and Indian Guyanese businessmen and women are getting affirmative action. Look at the two budgets that the PPP gave, and there's affirmative action in there for the business sector, Indian and Portuguese mainly. The 250,000 cash grant is an affirmative action for our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sister workers. And African Guyanese have to be given their affirmative action. That is the only way groups have caught up. The state has to give them a break. And we must not be ashamed to ask for affirmative action. That $250,000 is affirmative action money. Where is the African affirmative action? So the state has to intervene. When the African Guyanese state, control state was there, they are very timid and they never consider affirmative action for African Guyanese. They never did it. It's going to be hard to get an Indian government to give Black people affirmative action. So we have to have a national government. The other thing that we can do in the short term is going to get us to a point, but it's not going to help us to catch up, is to start to think strategically, which is what I've been talking about in the last couple of weeks that get the PPP vexed. Start thinking about how you spend your money, how you invest your money. We have to build up our communal stocks so that the individual wealth can come from that communal stock. That is going to get us somewhere. It's not going to help us to catch up with Chinese and Portuguese and East Indians. You know, we have to get together in partnership with each other and start business. We don't have the capital to start a business on our own. We need to do it the whole time. We're poor. We have to get back to those basic things. You look around your village and you say, there is a service that our people are leaving this village to go over to another village to buy. How can we provide that service in this village? Because if there is a demand for something, then it has to be supplied. So we have to think smart about how we spend our money and how we invest our money. And we have to begin to think more about economics. It is not that we don't think about it, but we have to think more about it. Now that is going to get us some way, but it is not going to help us. And in the end, it is the government and the state that will have to intervene to give us the structural means by which to catch up. Hinds, please explain what is affirmative action, because I don't think some might know about it much. That's a legitimate question. The word sometimes get people think. Egerton is saying, and Gary, you're right. I'll have to spend some time on that. Egerton said reduce the amount of money we put in the banks. We had cooperatives, it didn't work. It's not that it didn't work, cooperatives work. It just fell down. Cooperatives work, I can tell you. I lived in a village, I live in a village where I saw cooperatives work. We just didn't follow through as we should have. And I think Somebody got it right there. They said to revamp the cooperative credit unions. Those things work, I can tell you. I can tell you, it's not that it didn't work. I live in a village where I see our people were able to build big houses by being part of cooperatives. I mean, Melanie, as a cooperative village, now it has fallen down because the cooperatives were allowed, we didn't spend as much time revamping and advancing what we had. You know? So those basic things we have to go back to, I think. We have time for a couple of calls. Mr. Hinds, that is how weak the APNU-AFC coalition is weak. That they can't get nothing right with all the PPP government is doing. And, you know, we have gone over that over and over, my brother, and I know we have to develop a consciousness. The PPP does not see anything wrong in ensuring that their people are empowered, that their communities are empowered. They don't see anything wrong. If your roads are good, you can open a business at the back of the village and the business will thrive. If the road is bad, nobody going down a bad road to go and buy something. So if you have good roads in your village, it helps your village economy. You see, we as a people, we have to think these things through. And some of these things we can do on our own. But at the end of the day, like I said, the government has to. And since the PPP government is not going to do it, when a government that gets in there that is favorable to our community, that government has to help us. I'm not saying do as the PPP doing, give everything to us and don't give nothing to the other ethnic groups. That's not what I'm preaching, not at all. I'm saying give us enough to catch up. Give us enough to catch up. I'm not saying give like the PPP. I'm against what the PPP is doing. You're giving it to one ethnic group and don't give it to the others. And that's not what I'm preaching. I'm saying give enough to those who are behind to catch up. That's what any caring government will do. That's what any caring government will do. If we don't have any more calls, we're going to call it a night tonight. Tomorrow night, Christopher Ram and Rickford Burke are going to be talking to each other. You know, Christopher Ram took a hard line on Burke, and I'll give them a chance to speak with each other. Note I say speak with each other, and they've both agreed. So they're going to be on tomorrow night. And we're going to end the night with Aubrey Norton checking in. 2 days before Congress, the front runner is going to check in with us tomorrow night and give us the latest lowdown tomorrow night. So tomorrow night is going to be a big night. Christopher Ram and Burke will speak to each other on the issues, and then Aubrey Norton will close us off tomorrow night with a countdown to Congress, because Saturday is the big day. Saturday is the big day. So I want to thank you all again for tuning in tonight. I have to, like I said, split myself tonight, but I will be back tomorrow night. So stay well and tell Sherrod I said good night. Bye.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, Email your pledge to dhinds6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.